What is going on, people? We are Tottenham TV. Aston Villa 2, Tottenham 1. Out of 2 cups in the space of 4 days. And yesterday was a really hard one to take. You know, you thought you would see some sort of reaction after the Liverpool game. But, yeah, we were down from minute one, literally, quite literally. Aston Villa coming out the traps fast and Spurs ultimately not being ready. I mean, all at sea, and Kinski makes a terrible error in the first minute and you're 1-0 down. But yeah, I think it was pretty much shocking all round. I'm pretty much lost for words. Week in, week out now, it's just same old. I don't even know what to say anymore. I was there at Villa Park yesterday.
Tell us how it was.
Yeah, I guess we'll start off talking about being in the stadium and the fans. First of all, the fans, the team at the moment don't deserve the fans that Spurs have got, because 6,500 travelled up there yesterday, and even after going 1-0 down, even in the second half 2-0 down, the fans never stopped singing throughout the whole game, and it was brilliant. There was definitely an air of toxicity in the ground yesterday from the Spurs fans, consistently calling for Levy's head. But then there was a new element where there was chants against Ange Postecoglou yesterday, which I haven't seen before in the ground as an away fan or a home fan.
What were they chanting?
Oh, you don't even want to know. They were chanting, "He's just a fat Aussie."
Okay, got it. Interesting. I didn't hear those ones on the TV, but yeah, obviously you were there.
Yeah, so I mean, I heard them loud and clear. They weren't anywhere near as loud as like the Levy out chants and the Enoch chants and stuff like that, but there was definitely an element of it. And you know, I spoke to a lot of people at the ground yesterday, and not one really in favour of Ange anymore. You know, over the course of the season, especially over the last couple of months, you know, with the injuries and everything, there's always been an element of the fans backing Ange, and an element of the fans saying, you know what, once he gets over this period, we'll be all right. But yesterday there was none of that at all, really. I didn't speak to one fan yesterday that was being like, you know what, we just still stick with him. Everyone thought, you know, that's it. After that game, he would have been sacked, and he should be sacked.
Well, obviously, I wouldn't have been surprised if we woke up this morning and he was sacked. It seems as though, from the latest, it looks as though he's still in a job. I don't know what's the latest at the moment. Doesn't look like he's going to be sacked at the moment. I understand that sentiment, because obviously a lot of us were, including myself, hanging our hats a lot on these cup competitions and saying, you know, well, if we could do something in these cups, and we've just gone out of 2 of them in 3 days, and now we only have 1 or 4 days, and now we only have 1 cup left, and that's the Europa League. So the fact that we are out of those cups, for a lot of fans, I'm assuming they're thinking, even when we get over this injury period, you know, what have we got left to fight for, essentially? And there's only 1 cup, and I understand that feeling, I understand that sentiment. So I understand the feeling that there's no even point keeping him to get past this period, because we've run out of things to kind of hope for and kind of fight for the rest of the season. The season's quickly dying out. The league season's pretty much dead, so we're literally all eggs in the Europa League basket now, from now to the end of the season, and that's not where we want to be as a football club, and that's not good enough as a football club the size of Tottenham Hotspur. And I understand all that. To be honest, I'm not here to say they're wrong or anything like that. It's just my belief that we should give them to the end of the season, and I think we should give them the Europa League campaign, and we should give them the opportunity to recover some form when the players come back. But I understand if, you know, look, reality is it's been going on for 3 months, and the people are tired of the excuses. People are tired of all these different things, and a lot of people want change, and I understand that as well.
Yeah, and look, we can talk about the injuries, because the injuries are significant in terms of where we're at right now. There's no doubt about it. Of course, it's significant. I don't think you know, you have a hope in hell in a lot, you know, for consistent results. You don't have a hope in hell if you've got the amount of injuries that we've got. But I think what you can maybe achieve is, you know, I look back at Liverpool last season when they had all these injuries and they won the Carabao Cup off the back of it, and what Jurgen Klopp did very well in that situation was play players who never would have seen minutes, if it wasn't for the injuries. And I don't think Ange Postecoglou's doing that. You've got players on the bench, which he actually did use in the Elfsborg game, coming on, and they made a big difference in that game. Like, I don't understand why he's not using these players a bit more often when you can see clearly a lot of these players are dead out on their feet. I just don't understand why he's just not going with, and I've said it many a time, why he's not going with energy over kind of lacking of substance at the moment.
Well, it's a different scenario. I think Liverpool last season were in good form. They were challenging at the top. They were in all the competitions. I think, obviously, I know it was Klopp's last season, but Klopp been there for many, many years. Everyone knows exactly what he expects from them, even probably the youth players and all these different things. And chucking young players in when your team's in a losing streak and fans are baying for blood and there's heavy criticism, chucking a young player who's got very little experience into that environment can be very detrimental. Chucking a young player into an environment last season in Liverpool's scenario is different. That's how he sees it. Now, could he have played more? Could like Ajayi have come on yesterday potentially? Ola Sesi, all these different things. Maybe
Ola Sesi wasn't even on the bench, I don't think.
Whoever was on the, or I don't know, Casanova, a lot of things. I think there are obviously cases to be made. There's a lot of players at the moment in the team that are just on their feet, and we're clearly, especially when we're playing against a Villa side. I know they had their injuries as well, but you look at their team. There's a lot more. Apart from the back line, probably, they're clearly a lot fresher. They've had a week's training. That they're in a better way than we are. He felt chucking them in was not going to help the young players. That was his belief. Whether you believe that or not, that's fair enough. I think I would have liked to maybe seen some of the youngsters, but I understand that point of view where this is a scenario where everything's not functioning properly. Everyone's, the fans are very, very, very critical of what they're seeing at the moment, and chucking a young player into that environment as well is maybe not the best idea. There's also a case to say that.
Yeah, but we saw against Elfsborg how much it made a difference, and not only does it, give a young player experience, but it also gives players who are out on their feet a bit of respite and a bit of rest, and maybe more likely to go again in the next game and recuperate some of their energy levels, to go again in the next game. So I just think it would just be a smarter move to give these players. I'm not even saying start them. I'm just saying give them more minutes within a game. Half an hour, 25 minutes at the end, because we've seen sometimes if you can give these young players, give them a few minutes, give them a bit of, hope that they can see a bit of football on the pitch in a period that we're in right now, where players are just out on their feet and can't even make 2-yard passes and finding it hard to run. Then what have we got to lose? Seriously, what have we got to lose?
We started 3 teenagers and a 21-year-old keeper yesterday.
Yeah, but these three teenagers and 21-year-old keeper are being overplayed in themselves. They're playing week in, week out.
They need help from the senior players, but that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to give them that help, but it's obviously the situation. The reality is we've got 12, first-team players out at the moment, and we can say he can use young players, he can do all these things, but until that scenario changes,
but I'm not even saying
to manage.
I'm not even saying that putting these young players in are going to get us the win. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying putting these young players in, give a bit of respite to the players that we do have, the 12 senior players that are getting played week in, week out, Thursday, Sunday, Thursday, Sunday, Thursday, Sunday. But what we're doing right now is just complete madness in playing these players over and over again, and a lot of fans expecting to see something different. But you're not going to see something different because they're getting overplayed and they're getting more tired as the games progress. So why not give them a bit of rest when there are players from the academy that can come in? I'm not saying it will get any better, but it can get better on the next game when these players get a bit of rest.
Yeah, maybe. I think, but he's Ange obviously he's not trying to throw these games and maybe playing a bunch of youngsters or putting them in. Maybe he feels like they'll have not just a detrimental effect to the team, but a detrimental effect to these youngsters as well. That's what maybe he feels, and I understand, because I'm saying it's not the right environment to do that. Maybe if we were winning games, and that's maybe a different scenario, but the environment we're in, it's just not great for a youngster to be thrown in like that. These other teenagers who are playing, obviously they've got a bit more first team experience. Obviously they've been signed for decent money by the club, and they've been playing a lot more senior football than these young players who are coming in from youth level, who don't have the experience of these bigger games. look, I would like to see them.
But he had no problem doing it against Elfsborg, and we all reap the benefits from it.
Yeah, Elfsborg's a different case though to Liverpool and Villa, who are top teams. Elfsborg, I know they've done all right. And they ended up actually going out of Europa League totally after they lost to us. They're not the same level as the teams we are facing.
Of course they're not.
Of the teams we're facing now.
Of course they're not. But we've got big games coming up even now. We've got Manchester United on the weekend. We've got Man City in a midweek following that, or maybe in a couple of weeks' time. So we've got big games coming up. And we're just asking these players to keep playing. And if we don't give them respite, then we're just going to keep losing. And, it's just the same thing over and over again. And until we try something different in terms of, different personnel on the pitch, these players just going to keep getting run into the ground and nothing's ever going to change.
Well,
we are getting players back now. We are getting players back now. Destiny Udogie back training, which is a massive positive. And I think some other players like Timo Werner and Brennan and a few other players are going to be back in first team training this week. So, but how long are they going to take to get back to full fitness and actually see minutes on the pitch? We don't know. But look, let's talk about the game yesterday, because it was another shit show, no doubt about it. It really was. First minute, we go 1-0 down. I mean, those first 25 minutes, half an hour yesterday was so hard to watch. Mm-hmm. It really was. It was like a hot knife through butter, quite literally. Like one ball down the centre of our park, they were in on goal. Midfield, nowhere to be seen. I thought some of the defensive work from Rodrigo Bentancur was embarrassing at times, and I felt sorry for Gray and Danso yesterday, because it was pretty much like an onslaught on them two specifically, and they got no protection whatsoever.
Yeah, Villa were raining shots down on us. They came out flying. I was watching your match reaction. This isn't me calling you out, but you were saying how Spurs should have seen this as an opportunity given all the big teams around. I think that's what Villa saw it as, to be honest. And I think they came out as if this was a big opportunity, because when was the last time they won a trophy? I don't remember. It's probably also been a long time ago. So obviously with all these big teams out, I think they clearly saw this as a massive opportunity to progress in the cup. And
the reality is, I'm not here looking for a Villa lens. I'm looking for a Tottenham lens.
Yeah, I know. I'm as I said, I wasn't calling you out. I'm just saying that's probably as well what happened in terms of looking at this game as a massive opportunity. And they clearly came out 100 miles an hour. I thought, to be honest, the biggest players we struggled against, and it's no surprise, were Ramsey, Rodgers and McGinn. Yeah. And it's no surprise they're probably their most physical and best ball carriers in the team that they have. And those are the players that we really struggled to keep up with, especially in midfield. I said before the game, it's the midfield I was worried about. Obviously, Onana wasn't playing. Kamara was playing in midfield. But obviously McGinn...
Kamara was playing in defence.
Sorry, I meant in defence. But McGinn had a phenomenal game, I thought. Rodgers is hard to deal with at the best of times. I've seen better teams than us struggle to deal with Morgan Rodgers in the form that he was in yesterday. And I thought Ramsey down that left-hand side caused us also a lot of problems. Whenever they got the ball, they just drove. They went through some of our players that weren't even there. Bentancur, Bergvall, really weak challenges in the tackle. Porro at times as well. Really, really poor challenges. And obviously it started from minute one. And the midfield, absolutely nowhere to be seen, albeit Rodgers just danced round Bergvall like he wasn't there. He then gets that pass off to Ramsey using all acres of space on the left-hand side. But, the position he takes a shot from, don't get me wrong, it's a shooting opportunity, but it's not like a clear-cut chance. I'm sorry, Kinski has to do better there.
It's a clanger.
It's an absolute... It's one of the... I can't remember the last time I saw a Spurs keeper do as bad as that. I mean, I guess Forster against United maybe, but that's probably one. But in terms of a pure shot-stopping howler, and we've said in recent weeks, I like Kinski, but his shot-stopping is just nowhere near the level of Vicario's. He made a mistake against Arsenal. He should have saved that shot when we played Arsenal at the Emirates. Hasn't made too many obvious errors apart from that one in terms of his shot-stopping, but that one yesterday was absolutely horrendous. I mean, I honestly think I could have saved that shot. I mean, it's so bad. It was straight at him, very little power as well. He could have caught it. It is such a bad mistake from Kinski. It really is. No,
100%, no doubt about it. But, I mean, credit to Kinski, because he did dust himself off after that mistake, and he kept us in the game at times.
Although, yes, it's true, but there was one moment where just after the thing was, I don't know if it was just after the goal, but it was in the first half that someone plays the ball back to him, and he let the ball run under his foot, and it was like going towards the line. I was like, oh my God, it was like really affecting him. But he seemed to like recover that. What I would say about Kinski is there's something that happened yesterday as well that I was saying when I was watching some of his highlights before we signed him that I picked up on. He does spill the ball a lot, and I thought yesterday he was a few times there were some long range shots where he should be parrying that either out for a corner or out wide, and he was parrying it right into the danger zone for no reason. These shots were easily dealt with.
It happened 2 or 3 times in the first half.
Yeah, exactly. And that was, I know, fair play, he made the saves, but a goalkeeper at this level is not enough just to make the save. You've got to get rid of the danger, and he wasn't doing that enough times, and obviously that mistake as well. But second half, I 100% agree. There were a couple of one-on-ones, especially when we were chasing the game. I think Ramsey got in a couple of times down that left-hand side, and Kinski did brilliantly to make sure that he made himself big and made sure we stayed in the game. But, I thought first half, just that howler set the tone for it, though, didn't it? It just set the tone for the game, and as soon as that went in, you're thinking, oh God, we're going to be really up against it, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I felt so sorry for the centre backs because it was just an onslaught on them two, getting no help whatsoever from the midfield. And these are 2 big games in a row now, Liverpool and Aston Villa, where the midfield has just been pretty much non-existent. You got to say that. I mean, Bentancur has been nothing short of embarrassing in these last 2 games. Like, he's the most experienced player on that pitch, bar Sonny, right? And he's got to be doing a lot better than what he's showing. I thought he was just non-existent, and I thought the defending from him for the second goal was embarrassing. It really was. He just lets Morgan Rogers just have a free shot on goal. You know, no sort of pressure on him whatsoever. Lazy defending from him, and. I just don't know. I don't know what to say because we've been talking prior to the Liverpool game about how well Bentancur's been playing, and then these 2 games come along and he puts in those kind of performances, and it's just like it makes you rethink everything.
Yeah, it wasn't good. I thought Bergvall was Bentancur was really poor, I thought, throughout the game. He had some moments where I thought, wow, he's winning some challenges, but it never lasted, to be honest. Bergvall, I thought, was like a bull in a china shop a bit, running all around the place. I feel like he lacked a bit of discipline when his positioning. I think you look at the first goal, I think there was a bit of a coordinated press. I'm not sure whether it was well advised because it was right in that corner and it left that whole gap free. But Bergvall was just there not doing anything. If you're doing a man-to-man press, everyone's got to be doing their job. And everyone did have a man except for Bergvall. And Bergvall's man was Rodgers. He completely left him. And obviously it led to Rodgers having that free run. I think... Yes, the coordination of the press is on Ange 100% because he's the one who should be organising that. I also feel for him because, as it's been detailed, we're not spending that much time on the training ground right now. It's all about recovery, and it's hard to kind of when you've got new players like Bergvall. He's 18. He's obviously, I know he's been a feature in the side for a while now, but they're trying to play. I think that's probably the first time that midfield 3 have played together. You got obviously Danto's coming in, maybe going his second appearance. So all these different things are kind of being coordinated. You're all being thrust together. You're trying to create this well-organised, well-oiled press, and it just wasn't there yesterday. And on top of that, there was fatigue. Clearly, players weren't getting to their men quick enough. All these different things. I thought Decky. Interesting enough, I thought Decky was poor when he was in the middle, and I thought he improved a lot more when he went out wide in the second half, which is different to maybe in previous weeks. But
all our best moments in the game came from him. Even in the first half, he plays that ball through to Mikey Moore, who plays it across to Sonny. It was a great ball for Decky.
That was pretty much our only
Mikey
moment.
Moore. Yeah, in the first half it was, yeah. But it was a moment of high quality. Sonny's got to finish that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, how is he not finishing that?
That was actually probably, even with all the chances Villa had, that was probably the best chance of the half. And Sonny, 10 times out of 10, we've said a few times this season, some of these finishes he's had, you'd be burying them. And to be honest, if you watch it back, he actually only gets the chance because Konsa pulls up in the middle of the move, because Moore gets him down the right. He plays that ball across and Konsa's going for it, and he completely pulls out of it, leaving Son with a completely free shot. And he's got to bury it. It makes it 1-1 at that point. Who knows what happens. He doesn't. It stays at 1-0. I thought people were surprised that Mikey Moore was taken off at the break. I actually thought it was probably the right decision. I thought he was being bullied a lot by Luka Dean. There's a lot of moments in the game which I think obviously people look at the chance creation, all these things, but way too many times they were playing the ball directly into feet, and he's just getting bullied off the ball. He's getting Luka Dean is just out muscling him, and he's losing it way too often. So I think I understood the decision to take him off. To be honest, I thought Tell, when he was on the left hand side, was flattering to deceive a lot. I didn't see much of him. I thought he was losing the ball. He was quite wasteful. I thought he was a lot better when he moved up front, actually. Regardless of the goal, I thought he was running the channels a bit more, a bit better, and obviously he got his goal. Obviously the second, first half we could have easily been one down. Albeit, what I would say about the first half is
one.
Huh?
One,
it could have easily been a few down.
It could have been 3, 4, 5, 6.
But
take your pick.
What I would say about that first half is, as much as Villa had range shots on us, I don't remember too many obvious chances they had. It was all long shots, really, and chances from tight angles. They weren't actually... I thought there was one maybe where I think it was Rodgers had a shot from the edge of the box. Kinski saved it, and then it fell to Marlon. I think from the edge of the box, he would have had an open goal, but he skied it. That was probably our best chance. All their other chances, actually, I'm not saying they didn't have a lot of them, and if you have enough of them, you're probably going to score. But all their chances were, in general, either outside the box or from tight angles. So they weren't actually creating too many really clear-cut opportunities. But I'm not going to say we defended well, because all those chances, all those shots they had were basically because there was no midfield, so they just had loads and loads of free opportunities from outside, from those kind of areas, and they were taking shot after shot. And I think first half, their stats read they had 11 shots, I think, in that first half. And obviously they did go in with a 1-0 lead. But what my point is, it wasn't like they were creating loads and loads of one-on-ones and all these kind of stuff. It was just loads of shots from kind of decent areas, but no real clear-cut opportunities. But they just had a lot of them. And obviously, I think the main thing in that first half wasn't the opportunities. It was more the physical dominance they had over us, where every time we got the ball, there was a real weird phenomenon. Obviously, you were at the game, so you wouldn't have seen it. But what would happen is Villa would have a shot, right?
Mm.
It would go to a goal kick. They would show a replay of the shot, and by the time the replay finished, the Villa had the ball again.
God.
And that was literally every time. I literally barely saw Tottenham have the ball, because every time that happened, they'll show the replay, and by the time the replay was finished, Tottenham had already lost the ball. So obviously, I don't even know what was going on from goal kicks. I'm assuming we were just going long or whatever, and we were losing it. I didn't even see a goal kick. I didn't see one goal kick.
I'll tell you what was happening, and there was some shocking playing out of the back that we were doing. Really, really bad. And everyone around me was just like, stop trying to play out of the back. Sometimes you got to just go a bit long, go a bit route one. But when you got Sonny at the number 9 and Tell on the left and Moore on the right, all of them fairly lightweight. I mean, particularly Tell and Moore looked pretty lightweight yesterday, didn't they? I mean, how can you expect us to go route one when we've got these 3 guys in the forward line? You can't really go route one to any of those 3.
Yeah, look, I don't know what was happening in goal kicks, because obviously, as I say, but
just told you, really poor playing out the back.
Should the midfield be helping?
Of course they should.
Short? Were they not? Where were they?
Bentancur was, but we kept playing players into trouble. That's what we kept doing.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's because Villa smelt blood and were pressing extremely aggressively, probably.
Yeah,
and we just couldn't live with it. And every time we tried to play the ball into feet, you got these monsters kind of just out muscling us and being sharper than us, getting to the ball first, and we just weren't able to cope. So
I'll tell you what though about Tell. You say you weren't impressed with him yesterday. I felt
I said on the left, when he was on the left, I thought he flattered to deceive. Yeah.
He was getting shoved off the ball fairly easily, but I think he kept trying to do these nice little flicks and touches, and I felt like he did show something about him yesterday. He can beat his man, and he can be really tricky in situations. But when the lineup was first announced, I thought he was going to be the number one in the 9 and Sonny out on the left. I was really disappointed when I got to the ground and I saw him being on the left and Sonny being the 9, but I feel like there's a real player in there, and I was actually quite impressed with some of the things I saw yesterday, especially his just willingness to work, his willingness to dry take on his man, his nice little touches. He just, for his first game in a Spurs shirt, to come up against that aggressive Villa side was a bit unfortunate for him, but I did see a few kind of signs yesterday.
Yeah, I don't think he was awful. Don't get me wrong. I just think when he was on the left, I thought he was very wasteful. He's really struggled to hang on to the ball. I think there were moments, I agree, where he was looking for like a little pass and move, and some other players weren't on his wavelength really, and that comes with relationships on the pitch. But I thought he was a lot better when he did move up front. I thought we saw a lot more from Tell. To be honest, I thought he was running the channels a lot better, and obviously I thought he took his goal brilliantly. You watch it back, what a finish! Outside of the boot. It's right into the corner. It's a really great finish from Matty's Tell on that occasion. So I don't know. You could argue Ange got that wrong, but then again, Son had chances and he just didn't take them where he should have. So if he puts one of them away, you wouldn't say he got it wrong. But obviously, he didn't put any of them away, and Tell did. So maybe next game we will see Tell up front. I think maybe he went for Son up front just because Son has got quite a good record up front against Villa. You got to remember last season. He did really well. He's obviously scored a hat-trick there at Villa Park as well. You remember there was a game at White Hart Lane last season at home. We lost 2-1, but Son was getting in time after time. I think he scored a hat-trick of offside goals that day. So he has previous up front against Villa. So I think that maybe that's what he was thinking, but
it's
maybe
true.
it's hard to tell.
I mean, it's true. He does have previous, and last season and the previous seasons are history right now, because right now, this season, every time he's played up front, he's been poor. That's just the reality of this season.
Yeah, I know, but he could have scored a couple of goals, couldn't he, in this one?
He couldn't, but that's just the moment Son is in, like he's not taking his chances. And he is creating chances, though, when he's out on the left-hand side. So I thought it would have been a lot smarter to play him on the left. I thought that before the game. And this weekend against Man United, it's got to be Tell up front and Sonny on the left. It has to be.
Yeah, I think it probably will be. But obviously, look, so if we touched on the first half, but second half, he takes off Mikey Moore, brings on Basuma. A lot of people at half-time were bemoaning that substitution of take off Mikey Moore. I know Moore created that chance for Son in the first half, and you could say that's probably more than anyone else did, and you're probably right when you say that, but not you, I would say other fans. But I do think it was the right decision. I think it's more just was getting bullied a lot in that first half, in my opinion, apart from the chance he got. And I thought once we made that change, 4 rounds obviously only happened for around 15-20 minutes, but once we made that change, we did look a lot better. And I thought we were dominating in the second half. We were creating opportunities as well. Decky played Son through 1-on-1, just couldn't quite get away. I think it was from Bogard. He got away from him for a moment and it looked like he was going to get the shot off, and Bogard came back and made the tackle. There was, I think, Porro started to really influence the game at that point. He was getting down that right-hand side. He did a really brilliant cutback for Son, who instead of shooting laid it off for Basuma, which was quite curious, and that shot ended up, I think, being blocked or saved.
That's just an evidence of someone with not much confidence. Maybe replaying the previous chances in his head, because the Sonny that we know and love would have just taken that and put that in the back of the net.
Yeah, he didn't shoot from that point. And then there was another one, Decky cut inside. He had a shot which was saved. We were looking on top. We were creating corners. It looked like if there was going to be another goal, it was going to come to Tottenham. And it has just happened so often this season. In our best spell, we concede a goal. It's happened in many games this season, and it happened again. And it was also just before. Literally, you see Rashford and Asensio warming up. You're thinking, oh God, they're going to have a bit of a second wind here once they come on. And literally, as they're warming up, as they're just stripped off, they then get a second goal. And it does come from a Tell mistake, I think. He's completely loose on the ball. He's got the ball on the left-hand side, and he just wastefully gives it away under no pressure with a blind pass. It sets up Villa on a counter-attack. They go direct. They exploit it. I think it was Rodgers down that middle, linking up with then Bailey, then Marlon. He puts it across the face. Porro doesn't get it away, and bam, Rodgers takes advantage of it, puts it in the empty net, and it's 2-0. And as soon as that goal goes in, it's game over. We're not going to score 2 goals in the next half an hour or whatever it was, 25 minutes. And then they bring on Asensio and Rashford, and then the game completely got away from us at that point, because it was 2-0. They bring on those subs, and they really got a second wind in it. From the next 20 minutes, it really could have been 2-3. I think they were carving us open. Then they were really creating good quality opportunities. I think Ramsey went through 1-on-1. Asensio and Rodgers, there was one point they were completely taking the piss. Asensio took this ball out of the air, backheeled it to Rodgers. He nutmegged Gray, who then played it back to Asensio, who nutmegged Gray again. He plays it back to Rodgers, and his shot went wide. And like at that point, it could have been anything. At that point, so which was unfortunate because I thought Basuma made a positive difference when he came on, and we did look like we were getting a foothold in the game, but it got away from us, and it wasn't good enough in the end. It wasn't enough to get back in the game, and as soon as they got that second goal, I think Unai managed the game to perfection, really.
But when you're on top, as the way we were in the opening 15-20 minutes of that second half...
I said to Sai, if we don't score in this period...
Yeah, we had to. Of course we had to score in that period. Of course we had to score, but you need to be fighting tooth and nail so you're not exposed defensively as we were in that moment when Rodgers scored his goal. And that brings me back to the Bentancur defending. It's so lazy from him, so lazy. And the game's at 1-0, the game's in the balance, and it's so in the game at that point. As much as, they had load chances the first half, that's all gone. They didn't put those chances away. And Basuma comes on, he starts pressing in the middle of the park, and he looks really good. And then that moment happens, and I think Basuma, he started the second half so well, but by the time the end of the game came, he was getting opened up and carved open in the middle of the park.
Should have brought down Rodgers for that goal as well, because Rodgers has got the wrong side of him, and I think it was Rodgers, and he's on the edge of the box. He's about to play the pass. You just got to bring him down, take the booking, and give away the free kick. And I don't know if he tried to, but he clearly had a snap at him, and he couldn't. I don't know whether he tried to bring him down or Rodgers was too strong, but I thought he should have brought him down. But yeah, Bentancur, you watch it back, and Rodgers is literally trotting into I think it was Ramsey actually that Basuma should have brought down, but Rodgers was trotting into the box, really, not even sprinting. And you could just see Bentancur, who it was his man, and he's just watching him just trot into the box and put it into the empty net without a care in the world. And everyone is like fighting for their lives to try and stop this ball going in the back of the net, and Bentancur's just watching it all happen. And that was really, really disappointing to see, and it's really shocking, to be honest. I don't know why he's not at full pelt to help his team. It's really, really shocking. It cost us dearly, because if they don't score at that moment, who knows? But obviously they make it 2, and once it's 2-0, you saw the psychological effect of the team. They just lost all belief we were ever going to get back in that game at that point. Albeit, even at 2-0, Danso has that unbelievable chance to make it 2-1. Again, man. Another one, we just got to be putting that away. It's an open goal. Back post, how is he missing that? Again, created by a brilliant play from Porro down the right-hand side, who I think really in that second half really did start to step up for offensively anyway. And then obviously I think for the last 15 minutes, I think it was, we moved Tell into the striker position. And I thought he did really well, actually, because all of a sudden we were playing these long passes to the channels, and he was chasing after it and holding it up and bringing other players into play. I was like, okay, this is quite good. And then obviously it was in stoppage time, but brilliant goal. Lovely ball from Decky, who I thought had a much better second half. And it's a great finish, and maybe that's a sign of things to come, but brilliant outside of the boot. Just guides it into the corner. It's a great finish from Tell, and hopefully he's off the mark, and that'll give him the confidence to, go on from there. But unfortunately, it was too little, too late. We never really looked like scoring after that. We did have a couple of free kicks, I think, in stoppage time, which were completely wasted. I think Son took one into the arms of Martinez. I think Decky had another floater, which again overhit. But again, obviously, when you're in stoppage time, you're desperate for an equaliser. That can happen, and it was gutting. It was gutting to go out of another cup and the manner we did. And we can't sit here and say we didn't deserve to lose, because we did. Villa were the better team; they deserved to win. But what can we say? It was just not good enough.
They were better. They were better than us in every facet of the game yesterday. And you know what pained me a lot in the first half, particularly, was our unwillingness to go and fight in the middle of the park for those second balls, for those challenges. Every single 50-50 Villa were coming out on top. Every single one. There's just so much of a lack of aggression and a lack of fight within this team at the moment. And it's just so painful to watch. It really is. And this isn't just what's happened this game. It seems to happen week in, week out. And the non-existent midfield that we keep seeing. And this is something that we've been seeing for a while now. It's not just a new thing. It's like the midfield is just nowhere to be seen. It's just so easy to just charge up the pitch and bypass that midfield, and basically it's attack versus defence. It's pretty much what we saw the whole game at Anfield, and it's what we saw yesterday at Villa Park as well. And these are supposed to be our two biggest games of the season, and we've had a complete no-show in both of them. And yeah, you know, you're going to talk about the injuries and everything like that, and it does have a factor to play, but you've got to surely be able to muster up something in such a big game. Show something about you. We showed nothing about us pretty much apart from 15 minutes in the second half. And if you can gather some energy for the first 15 minutes of the second half, where's the energy for the rest of the game? Where's the energy at all in the first half? There was no energy in the first half whatsoever.
I think Villa's energy dropped. That was the big thing. That's why they made subs. They brought on Rashford, they brought on Asensio, they brought on, I can't remember who else they brought on. And they had a second wind, and then they were able to overwhelm us again. But I think, well, obviously, we brought on Basuma. It gave us a bit of an injection, and it seemed to do the trick for a bit. We didn't take advantage of it, and again, as I said, in our best period, we conceded a goal, and that psychologically killed us, I think, at that moment. And that's how I assess that bit. Obviously, the first half, we were completely overrun. I think in all facets. I think you could just see in all the challenges. Albeit, I was looking at the stats. Bergvall made 5 tackles in that first half. Decky made 4 tackles in that first half. Like, they were putting in the challenges. That's an incredible number of tackles for one half. There were, in terms of the duels, I think Bergvall won 7 of 12 duels in one half, which, you know, on the face of it, that's not a bad number. But I think it's just the sheer amount of times they were able to come at us. And you got Ramsey and Rodgers, who, even when you're fully fit, they're hard to deal with. I've seen Rodgers do that to Man City and Arsenal's midfield, where he's just getting in that space. He's such a great carrier, and he absolutely did that to us yesterday. We couldn't handle him in that number 10 position. We really couldn't handle him. He was just flying in that game. He's such a special player, and I think McGinn was like a bulldog in there. I thought at both facets he was unbelievable with his aggression. And then on the ball as well, he had the ability to pick out those passes. I thought he had a phenomenal game, John McGinn, yesterday. I thought another player was that physicality we just couldn't handle. And they were fresher than us. And I think that was the cause of a lot of what happened. I think the coordination of the press, that was down to Ange. And I think that was also a massive problem yesterday, because we couldn't get near them. We were pressing them and they were just popping it around us like we weren't there. And that was something that I think we tried to maybe be a lot braver than we were at Anfield. It was just like, you know, at Brentford, we decided to sit deep, and obviously we grind out a 2-0 victory. We tried to do the same at Anfield, and we get battered 4-0, and then Andrew's saying, well, you know, we weren't brave enough. We tried to be more braver at Villa Park, and then we get undone because we're not getting near enough to them, and we just don't have that energy. And I kind of feel like we're damned if we do, damned if we don't now, and that's why I feel like it's these injuries that are causing the problems. But when you have these 2 massive games, which, you know, a lot of our season was riding on, to be honest, and now we're down to 1 cup, it's very painful and it's hard to take when we get dumped out of the cups so quickly, and in that fashion as well.
Well, all will be revealed in the next month or so, because a lot of players are coming back now. And if this form carries on with these players coming back, then, like, I'm currently sitting here saying that Ange Postecoglou, I don't think he really has a leg to stand on right now. With you know, the season's pretty much peaked out now. 10 points above the relegation zone. Don't think we're going to be dragged into that. Out both domestic cups, where, like you say, we were pitting a lot of hopes and dreams on these competitions, particularly, you know, League Cup. We get to the semi-final with beating Man City, beating Man United, and we peter out to Liverpool, fair enough. The manner of it was nowhere near good enough. And then Aston Villa, you know, and we can lose to Aston Villa on the day. They're a very good side, but the opportunity that we had with these big teams going out so early, it was such a great opportunity to go and actually do something special in the FA Cup. We peter out of that competition. Now it's only the Europa League left, and 1 bad game, and then that's it. We're out. 1 bad tie, or should I say? Then we're out, and then you've got literally, then the season's completely dead. So there is one sort of thing that we can hold on to, and that is the Europa League right now. And until that's gone, then the season's completely dead. But
correct.
I think Ange Postecoglou, I think it's been enough this season to deserve the sack. Do I think, you know, he is going to be sacked? Probably not. I still think they'll give him till the end of the season. I don't see a way that we do sack him and everything gets better, because it's just limited options on what manager even wants to come here anyway. With every manager, you look at Mourinho, Conte, Nuno, Pochettino, every manager gets thrown under the bus here, and Ange Postecoglou is no different. So with managers looking at that, the only reason a manager comes here probably is for a payday. And do we want that? We want a manager that comes here to manage the club like Ange Postecoglou did.
I would say right now that's true. I think at the end of the season, if we do decide to part way with Ange, and obviously if we do go out, let's say we go out Europa League early, and obviously we finish, bottom half of the table, which looks likely at the moment, I think he will be gone. And then I think at the end of the season, you might get let's say Bournemouth or something don't finish outside the European places. Then I think he might be gettable, because I think the role or whatever might see an opportunity at a big club. But I think right now in mid-season, I think it's a lot more difficult, and I think it doesn't make as much sense to do, in my opinion, to do it mid-season, to do it right now than do it at the end of the season, when I think there'll be a lot more opportunities to bring a manager in.
Regardless of that situation of who we can bring in mid-season, whether you think we can get someone or not, do you think he deserves the sack right now?
Do I think he deserves the sack? Results-wise, probably. I mean, I'm if you're just looking at it purely from results, then yeah, of course he does, because it's not been anywhere near good enough, and it's not what we expect from the club our size to be getting these kind of results. We haven't seen these results since the 90s, or even whenever, probably since we got relegated, whenever that was, in the 70s, I think it was. So I think on that basis, if you're
we haven't seen the results since the 90s.
If on that basis, then yeah, if you're just purely looking at the results, then yeah, he does deserve to be sacked. I'm willing to look at the context of it, and I'm willing to give him the chance to get those players back and give him that Europa League run and see what he can do, and prove that when that it is these injuries that is the problem. I'm willing to give him that time, and I understand if people aren't, but I am willing to give him that time. I'm not sitting here saying he's definitely the saviour. I've never said that, or he's definitely the right guy, but I've seen enough when we had players fit that we can play really good football and we can blow teams away. And I've said that. I mean, I know it's been a while since that happened, but it's also been a while since we had, a squad which didn't have basically double-digit injuries. So I think I'm willing to just see out to the end of the season and then make the assessment, then see what he can do in the Europa League. And if we do go out Europa League early, which may happen, and if the league form is as bad as it has been, then we part ways and we say, it didn't work. But I think right now, I think I'm willing to keep it till the end of the season.
I agree with you in a sense to this Villa game and this Liverpool game. It's obviously very hard to navigate fixtures like that in the terms of this injury crisis. But then you look back at the Tamworth game, you look back at the Leicester game. Like these two games specifically, we should be getting past those games a lot easier than we did. I mean, obviously Leicester we lost, but Tamworth we got through it in extra time. Like, it should never be getting to that. Leicester were on a losing run of 7 games in a row. They're getting battered week in, week out. They're the worst team currently in the Premier League, as we can see. And ever since they beat us, I think they've lost every game since then as well. Like, you can't make the excuses for injuries for the Tamworth game and the Leicester game. Like, these games, regardless of injuries, we should be getting past those.
Yeah, Tamworth, I agree. Leicester... Yeah, I agree. I agree both of them. We should be winning those games regardless of the injuries. I mean, again, it's easy to say. I think more Tamworth, they're part-timers. There should be no excuses in that game. You should be winning that, whatever team you put out there. This is a team who aren't even a full-time team. These players have other jobs, and we struggled against them. We kind of got lucky in that game. Leicester, obviously, was shocking as well. That was a game, obviously, we were 1-0 up, and we in a 5-minute period they scored 2 goals, and bam, we lost the game. And that was also another shocking result. Don't get me wrong, I'm not happy looking at that, but I kind of think with the players in the condition that they are in terms of fatigue and all these kind of things, like, we're probably one of the worst teams in the league when we're in this condition, and that's proven to be. And I think especially when it's been going, I don't think people realise it's been going on since November or beginning of December. It's a long time. You're playing 3 games a week with all these injuries consistently, It's a very long time. It's a lot of weight on this squad with no let-up. It's only been getting worse in that time as well, because obviously when you're overplayed, other players get injured because they're being overplayed as well, and they're continually being put out on the pitch, and they're struggling as well to keep up their form. And I think when you've got that amount of injuries for that long, it's going to have a catastrophic effect on the squad. That's my belief, and you're going to get results that you're not happy with, and that's what we're seeing at the moment. And yes, the Leicester game and the Tamworth game were unacceptable, 100%. But I just think it's more of a consequence of the situation we're in more than anything else. And as much as we can sit here and say we should be doing this, we should be doing that, we should be winning this game easy, we should have no problem in this game, I think if we started the season right with just this squad, with all the injuries that we've had, if the squad from November to now was our squad from the start, from beginning of the season till the end of the season, we'd get relegated. We would get relegated and would lose a lot of games. That's why we're seeing the form that we're in my opinion. That's my belief.
Yeah, because, well, on top of that, you've got to find a way to muster up some sort of energy and some sort of performance. Like I said, give the youngsters a bit more of a go. Give players like Reguilon a bit more of a go. Some players with energy levels. We've got no energy on the pitch, and it's showing week in, week out, and he's not doing anything to try and counteract that. He's not doing anything to, bring players on, or players that have more energy, and maybe the quality does go down, but the quality on the pitch is nowhere near what we want to see anyway. So what's the difference? What is the difference? And what about these injuries? Like, why the club are clearly lying to us right now. They're lying to us literally in our faces through the press conference, through Ange Postecoglou, James Maddison, he was a bit sore after the game. We haven't seen him since. It's been like, 3-4 weeks since then? Or since 2-3 weeks. It's been 2-3 weeks since that Hoffenheim game. He came off a bit sore. Mickey van der Ven. No, he didn't recur another injury. I haven't seen him since the Elfsborg game. So they're trying to cover up these injuries to us when it's clear that, these players are getting re-injured and re-injured and re-injured. I saw Brian Daigle on the fan show yesterday talking about none of these other players that we've got out on loan. Whenever they're at Spurs, they get catastrophic injuries. Japhet Tanganga and Manor Solomon and all this kind of stuff. I know Manor had injuries before, but this season
never played under Ange, did he?
No, I'm saying this is a Tottenham problem.
Oh right, yeah,
a Tottenham problem, right? Japhet Tanganga literally couldn't stay fit for 2 games at Spurs. Now he's played 48 games in a row.
Apparently under Conte, they said he had a very serious injury that was going to impact his whole career.
Yeah, and now he's played 48 games in a row.
And he's doing very well.
It's ridiculous. The injuries at Tottenham is ridiculous. And yes, it's the worst it's ever been this season, but it has always been a problem, but nowhere near as bad as this. So I do think, Ange does have, some sort of role in it, but the problem has always been there. That's the reality.
Yeah, we don't have a very good medical department. All the previous managers have complained about the medical department. Apparently Conte really hated
Jose
the medical
as well.
department. Jose's complained about the medical department. We've very clearly been advertising new head of medical and new head of conditioning, and apparently I don't know if those roles have been filled, but they've taken the roles off LinkedIn or wherever it was posted, so maybe it has been filled. So I think maybe the club have realised the problem, hopefully. But I 100% agree with you. I think when you look at players getting re-injured and coming back and in their first run they get injured again, that has to be on the medical department. I don't see how it can't be. They're the ones that are saying these guys are fit to play, and then within one run they're getting injured again. I think that is 100% a problem with the assessments of the medical department and how they're conditioning these players and how they're recovering them. 100% it's on them. Maybe the fact they first get injured and the amount of injuries we have, it's probably a part of it is on the intense style of play we have, and Ange obviously wants us to be a physically dominant team and all these different things, and I'm sure that can cause injuries. 100%, I don't deny that, and I'm sure Ange wouldn't deny that injuries can happen when you play that kind of style. We're not the only team to play that style, but I'm sure that can happen when you play that kind of style. But I think when you're talking about players coming back from injury and within their first game, or even when they're coming back and re-entering training, they're getting injured again, that is a big, that when that happens multiple times, you've got to say there's a big problem with how we're conditioning these players and how we're dealing with them. And I think the medical department does have a lot to answer for, in my opinion, when it comes to that side of things. Obviously, there are things which we can't do anything about, like Solanke's injury, Vicario's injury, the fact that Bentancur was out for ages with various things. There's a lot of other different kind of scenarios which have also kind of compounded the injury crisis. But I think the big problem has been these players getting injured and then coming back and getting re-injured again, and that's been a massive problem. And then they're out for even longer because they're even longer than they previously were, and it's completely meant that we're perpetually in this cycle of having 10 to 14 players out every single game.
Yeah. And it's just so hard to watch. I'm so fed up of Tottenham right now. I really am. I was driving up there yesterday and I was thinking, why do I do this to myself? And then 1 minute into the game, I was like,
yeah, why do
I do this to myself? And I just don't know why I do. But look, it was great to be in and amongst the Spurs fans, as it always is. The fans, like I said, they were the shining light throughout the game yesterday. Never stopped singing, never stopped backing the team, and never stopped calling out the owners as well. So I thought it was a brilliant showing from the 6,500 that travelled up there yesterday, and on top of that 6,000 that travelled up to Liverpool on Thursday night as well. So unbelievable support for the football club once again. And I swear this club don't deserve our support with what we're having to accustomed to seeing week in, week out. It's really shocking.
According to Matt Lawst, Ange has given the players 2 days off after yesterday's defeat, as he plans to rejuvenate the beleaguered squad during the injury crisis.
Well, let's see what kind of an impact that has, because it's the first time in a while now that we're going to have a week's rest before a game, before the Man United game on the weekend. So as much as I've been, had a lot to say about Ange, now is the time. With some of the players coming back, we're going to see what he's really about. We're going to really see if this form takes an uptick in form, or we're just going to carry on this cycle. And if we do carry on this cycle with players coming back, then surely he's got to get sacked before the season ends.
As I've said, if we go out of the Europa League early, I think he's got nowhere to turn. That's my thing. And I think there's kind of no point just keeping him around just to sack him at the end of the season. But if right now, he's got the Europa League, he's got the chance to improve our league form with players coming back, and I'll give him that opportunity. And if he doesn't take it, then we part ways.
In reality, it doesn't matter if you're giving him the opportunity or who's giving him the opportunity. It's all about the hierarchy and what they're thinking. And if they're sticking with him for this long, then I do think they're going to just stick with him till the end of the season, regardless of what happens.
I mean, logically, it would seem stupid to say we're going to back him because we understand the injury crisis and then sack him as soon as the injury crisis starts to ease. I mean, that would logically seem a bit silly.
But if they are sticking with him because they know about the injury crisis and they're taking that into account, once the players come back and the form doesn't get any better, then surely you got to sack him before the Europa League even comes around. Because how many games have we got before the Europa League?
3, maybe.
Is it only 3?
I don't know, because the Europa League would be mid-March. We've got United. We got
3 games. Yeah, United, Ipswich, and Man City. So I mean, we do have players coming back within these 3 games. So there will be options and there will be, opportunity to rest. So I mean, if we, let's say, get 1 point out of our next 3 games, or like 2 points or whatever, surely he has to get sacked, and we have to, give ourselves the best opportunity to go through in the Europa League. Because if he gets players back and we're still losing games, then we're just waiting to die.
Well, I have to see the context of it. But yeah, obviously, if we play like we did against Liverpool in all these games, then maybe our best chance would be Ryan Mason. Who knows? But I do believe our performances will get a bit better once players are back. But maybe they won't. And if they don't, and if we lose the next 3 games, even when players come back, they will have a decision to make. But I still, I mean, if I don't know, would Ryan Mason be a better bet than Ange? Right now, I would say no. But maybe if we lose these games heavily, and even though we've got players back, we still we lose heavily in these next 3 games, maybe we have to say it really is our best chance to go Mason.
Yeah, and it will be, because I mean, if you're losing every game, then what's the difference? What's the difference? Like, what's the point of sticking with Ange if we lose our next 3 games? Let's say, like, is there any point?
I have to see how we play.
All right, well, that is your match review. A nice long one for you guys.